So where are you in your self-love journey right now?
Right now, at this moment, if I'm being honest,
Please.
I'm not showing myself any self-love at the moment.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thank you, love. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you so much for your grace there. So much going on in so little time. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, happened. So thank you for jumping on with me now.
Oh, no, thank you. And thank you. What you just said there just touched me, and it was in your movie as well. So I feel like I want to begin, but I want to introduce you too. But you mentioned grace. And
Mhm.
I think, you know, in short abundance, in much abundance always, or we wouldn't be here.
Right.
What's your take on that?
On what specifically? On
On
like
grace, on
on
grace.
oh
I'm
oh
sorry, you
my
gave me a
goodness.
perfect segue into your movie, so I had to. I had
Oh yeah. Well, first,
to.
thank you for considering me. That I do appreciate. You know, I guess when we're talking about like self-love, I think about the grace one can give themselves. I feel like often maybe women, even Black women, um, are very hard on themselves when they can't live up to everyone's standards, or they can't serve everyone the way that people would think they should, or or hard on themselves because they know they want to do better for themselves, but they just can't because of life's responsibilities. And so for me right now, even in my personal story, it looks like saying, okay, like he didn't get a chance to check that off the list. It's okay. Try again tomorrow, right?
Mm.
Or, you know what? Something might be a mess right now, but eventually, it's going to be cleaned up. Give it a minute, right? Or you didn't get it. Like even now, it's just like, oh no, no, I was so excited for this. And, life happens. You're just like, okay, well, just be honest. You know what I mean? And see what happens. So, um, I think a lot of it is, just being real with yourself and then being real with others about where you are and showing a bit of vulnerability and then going from there.
Awesome, awesome. Let's introduce you, and we'll get more into it. But like I said, it was a perfect segue, and I think that was so important what you just said too. So Kareema Bee,
Yes.
um, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this film, because it touched me on various levels.
No, thank you.
Um, you are the writer, director, producer of
Mhm.
The Act of Self-Love,
The self-love
um,
act. Yep.
the Self-Love Act, sorry. And it's a series, right? This is only the first installment, so we have
Correct.
lots more to look forward to. And from the Bronx too. I didn't know that garden was there either.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So just so much. You touched on so much because it seemed like, you started with you at a very raw point, very personal, very raw point, and you branched off into community. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is on this journey that you've taken with this film, this series, do you find you can't separate them? Do you know what I
Um,
mean?
yeah, to an extent. I mean, I think part of why I had the two coexist, this idea of like my personal journey and then those of others, because I didn't want it to just be about me, because it's really not just about me, if that makes sense. I
Yeah,
knew
yeah.
that there were other people, women, especially women who look like me, who've gone through the same kind of process, who've come out on the other side of whatever it is, who are still searching for whatever it is that they're trying to find or heal from or through. And I also value not I value community because I don't like seeing anyone feel like they're alone in something. I know I've felt it, and so that's something I'm very passionate about as far as like helping people. It's like, no, this is why I'm being vulnerable, because no one knows me, right? It's like they don't know my story. So it's like by sharing this, my hope was that, okay, we have a chance to get to know who she is.
You don't really understand your community or know your community if you don't know yourself.
It's a matter of us being culturally immersed and really getting a chance to know each other.
Hi, brother.
Blackness, this is who I am. I embrace it, I love it, I celebrate it every day.
Oh, not want anyone to feel like they're alone or anything. And so it's that's why I did it the way that I did, so that the two can coexist every episode, because it is thematic. So there's different topics that you'll see me address, which will include different parts of the community, if that makes sense. It's not just about my ancestry. You know, sometimes self-love is rooted in someone's spirituality. Sometimes self-love is rooted in their mental health. Sometimes self-love is rooted in their beauty standards. So the goal is to say, hey, this is what I think, this is where I am in my journey. But what about other people? Right? Because love is a very, subjective, thing. So,
and I think too, like, because it had me thinking too, like, yeah, what is self-love? Like, and the nearest approximation I could make in thinking about it was finding value, kind of like on what you just said, either if it's based on your spirituality or appearance, because I don't think self-love or valuing ourselves is necessarily taught or emphasized in any way. I think it's exploited. But to authentically teach self-love, it's like, wow. Or try to aspire to it, or, even make time for it. Like, the woman in the community garden, I thought that was a great segment, of how, like, yeah, she's going through all her things right now, right? New mother, getting a home place, so we're kind of, I think everybody like goes through the motions of, okay, goal, achievement, but yeah, to like stop and say, am I being valued in this undertaking? And am I feeling love from my community or pushback? I think it's a lot. It's a lot to undertake. So I think it's very wise of you that you undertook this in like a series format, right? Because it seems like it would be too big for like one movie.
exactly. And I think too, it's like every episode looks a little different because the topic is different. So me getting back to the root, was like, okay, here's this entry point, but it's about so much more.
I found it interesting too about your heritage, about the Mafi people. That is wonderful.
The Mafa people, yeah.
I told you, the Cameroon, the Mafa people, farmers, cultivators.
L'chaim, cheers.
Is this the restorative part?
Unless somebody tells a story, it'll never be told.
For people, like, did you know of that community beforehand at all? It was all just a surprise to you, unraveling in the moment. That is amazing. Yeah, do you want to expand on that a little bit? People haven't seen.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea, no expectations either way. Like, I was just like, okay, it'd be nice to find out. Like, I've been here for generations now, my family. And so when I did find out, it was kind of a nice relief, just because I've always felt a connection to land in some way, or through my creativity, or even I volunteered myself one time for artist residency on a farm. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, oh, okay. And so, and always believed in like cultivation and planting seeds as something that I would say for sure, on my maternal line, the women in my family do. So it just felt like, okay, but that's why I was also honest, right? You see the segment where I'm just like, but what does that mean? to me. Like
Mm-hmm.
where is this taking me? Where do I go from here? And I kind of added that late in the post process because I was just like, I feel like I need, like, just like anyone else would think, like I was thinking that too. I want to put that in there so people see, like, I'm just trying to figure this out,
Yeah.
and what that means to me. So there's so much more for me to research and explore, and because there's not many of them left, that especially in the United States. So that's a whole other separate journey unto itself, that I need to take. So
uh that's amazing. Yeah, no, and everything, how you started it off, like, it felt really raw and really personal. You're like, look, I got the COVID test today. I went through the C word. I don't even like saying that word. you know, um, so what were your emotions just really opening yourself up like that, and now, do you feel more comfortable doing that? And do you see that as really sort of your mission as opposed to just narrative, like write a script, get actors? I know that's
um
a lot, so wherever you want to jump in.
yeah, no, it was, I mean, in short, I would say it has been a tough process. I believe in being vulnerable and showing humanity, but I also value privacy. So towing the line of that was very interesting for me. But I also know by showing different things, people can relate and trust and feel like they and care, right, about your story. And that's half the battle when you're making something so personal, and also want to feel like, people want people to engage with you. Um, so I knew as a filmmaker in this case, like it was required. um, and I think, am I just like, sure, I'm going to share everything now? No. But I do, every topic is different. I haven't touched upon many for this yet, because I still have to raise funding and things like that. But I find that even looking at some of the topics I want to address is like, ooh, okay, what about my mental health do I want to share, right? What about my own beauty standards and how I feel about myself do I want to share? Like, what about motherhood and self-love do I want to share? Like, there's a lot to consider, but I'm excited at the prospect of it. I would love to do more of these. Just by the response of the first one, I'm like, oh, I ain't seen that yet. Like, there's so much more to talk about with regards to this topic. So, um, I'm open, but I'm also just want to be intentional.
Mm. How did you stumble upon it? I'm curious, like, what brought you to this point? Like, beforehand, were you always a documentarian, or were you more narrative?
Definitely more narrative. I would say I've been in digital producing by day for some time, so that kind of landed me in kind of the short form, unscripted format of things, and kind of human profiles and that kind of doc style. And I was just like, oh, how can I apply this to myself? Just having taken this experience and then understanding narrative and storytelling. I was like, okay, how can I interweave all the things that I've learned as a filmmaker in one space? Which is why you see a lot of mixed media
Mm.
in pilot.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's beautiful when the pictures come up, and yeah, yeah, no, it
Thank you.
is really, really well done. So did you edit it as well? Everything?
No. Mm-mm. No, I have a beautiful team of women, mostly women of color, mostly, who helped me get through this, because I knew at times I wasn't going to feel like finishing. Like, I was just like, okay, this is too much. I'm done. Like, yeah, nope, too vulnerable. I'm done. Like, I knew I was going to get to that place at some point. So I wanted to have a team of people around me who could step outside of their rapport with me and just tell the story for what it is.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Another part that really moved me was that you brought your brother, your grandma, your mother. How did they feel going in? Like, oh, you're putting us in the spotlight. Like, were they apprehensive at all, or were they like, here I am, I love this idea? What was that
No,
conversation like?
Yeah, no, these are great questions. My brother and grandmother are stars, so they're always very supportive. Um, I think I don't they did not know how personal it was.
Mm.
So I think for them was like, whoa, like you know what I mean? Like they're like that's a lot, you know. They didn't that's the only part that like threw them off, but otherwise, they love seeing themselves on screen. So
Uh,
yeah. May I
awesome.
ask though, so what this interview process is like, more about your film festival. I think you saw you're in your fifth year. I would love to know more
Yes.
from you about
Oh,
this
sure.
process. I've never been interviewed beforehand before.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm excited. All right. So the film festival is in its fifth year. It's the third year screening. Because we started during COVID. So everything was, of course, online. Um, but yeah, it just came out of I went to the Toronto Film Festival, and Joey Soloway, now it's Joey Soloway, the director of Transparent, um, had this talk about the female gaze, um, and about the male gaze. I'm sorry, and it was at TIFF, like I said, in 2016, I believe. And basically, you have an auditorium full of people, and we're there to hear this presentation. And it begins with, this is what we're used to seeing about women in film. There's two main characters, two males sitting at the bar. The waitress walks up. So you see cleavage and a bottle of beer, and she puts it down in front of them. So, and just from that, this kind of all started coming to me. I always been about, I love parties, just gatherings, kind of like, like your film, making everything about community, right? Um, so I was like, I got to do something. And then, 2019 came around, and it was like, all right, well, it looks like if you don't do it now, you never will. So it was that, and going through my own experiences as an actress, as a writer, um, you know, just interacting with how some males, have been, whatever their mindset, whatever they were brought up, it didn't feel like equality. So, it's just really about speaking up and, making things known that women, are not just the bimbette, the trophy wife. There's substance there. You want to show your daughter leadership, right? You want to show her your competency. So that's really how this film festival came to be. Kind of grassroots, like, how your project is, so I really love interviewing people that I feel have brought something substantial, something powerful, something very artistic to the table, because I feel they should be spotlighted. I feel their voices are valuable and need to be heard. I believe you're inspiring other C word survivors to say, look at that, like, because with a lot of things, when something is finished, you say, what next, right? So somebody could watch your film and say, hey, she did it. Maybe I can too. Maybe I have something worth documenting, which I'm sure they do. Maybe I have to write my story either for healing or to help somebody else or to create a community. Sometimes even I think if a project, piece of art, a song, a film, whatever, even if it's not, in Sundance or what have you, I think it still impacted those people that did see it, And somebody could stumble across this interview 5 years from now and be like, oh, I want to look up my African heritage. She did it. Let me see how I can do it and help my family learn something about themselves, right? So you just never know. I think it's just passing along inspiration along the way, given, a seed, like, to really take it from, like, I was relating to what you were saying about, um, you volunteered on a farm. Like, I'm first generation Italian American, and my father cried when he came here, I heard, because he didn't want to leave his orange grove. Like, like a little patch of land, like, so it's all like, you see like perspective, like, oh, who doesn't want to come to New York City and like make it? But like some people like my oranges, my orange trees, so it's really all about just passing along perspective, right? And knowing that it's okay what your perspective is, because that's where you are right now. And you mentioned it too, that there's grace in that. I didn't get all my chores done today, what have you. God willing, there's tomorrow. You know? So yeah, just how we touch one another and can grow together. Everybody has, I believe, their valuable piece of the puzzle to put into the human mosaic. you know, um, but yeah, I thought it was very interesting too how I don't remember his name, but he was saying, it's agriculture is like the disappearing art. How like now
Sure.
I keep, yeah,
Hmm.
I thought that was a fascinating perspective too. Like I told you, it reminded me of my dad. Like, yeah, you want to go and make this other career, but why must we lose the past? Why must it totally be erased?
Right. No, that makes sense. Well, I appreciate being considered in the film
Yeah.
festival. When I saw her vision, that's the first thing I thought about was, well, this is definitely a vision that I tried to do my best to bring to life. So I appreciate the time.
Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate you choosing our festival. And I wonder, like, how long did the project take you? Like, I know it's not over yet, but this chapter, this episode, how long did it take? How in the making?
Well, the first two episodes, I received support from the Big We Foundation. So as a result of that, it kind of helped accelerate it because I was on a deadline. So it's like once I received the funding, it was like you have until this date to finish. So I say about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Um, and then maybe, a few months after that here and there sprinkled just to like fine tune and then start applying to film festivals. But my goal too was because I was a recipient of the She Stories grant was to make sure, I turned around something that they would also be proud of that represents their core pillars of um, helping young women and girls with their self-development. And something they felt like, materialized, if that makes sense. Like, oh, it's something she's actually trying to work on and do, and continue. So
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, see, like, I think that's so important, right? Is that first step, reaching out to somebody like, hey, I'm doing this. You have a grant for me, or can we collaborate on something, right? Because without that, we're kind of, you know, rowing a solo ship. And I heard this is an African saying. Is it true? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
yes, it is.
Right? That just encapsulates everything, right?
Sure. No, it does. So I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah, yeah. So you have this is like what's your passion, what you're working on. Do you also do other things like you help produce other people's stuff? You direct other people's stuff? Do you want to get into that as well?
I do by day. I, support a media company that produces different content for brands. So I do stuff in the health space, in the family space, in the travel space. So it allows me to have like a very portfolio of work and be able to meet different kinds of real people, right? And really, understand just the power of storytelling from a human perspective. So yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. I guess we're good. I want to thank you again.
Thank
Um,
you.
thank you. This was truly lovely for me. Like I said, I love to see things happening in the Bronx. So,
So much again. I'll look forward to hearing from you and then go from there.
all right. All right. Thank you so much, love. It was awesome to meet you.
You too. And thank you again for understanding.
Oh, no problem. No, for real. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Take
God
care.
bless you. Thank you.
You
You
too.
too, love.
Bye-bye. So where are you in your self-love journey right now?
Right now, at this moment, if I'm being honest,
Please.
I'm not showing myself any self-love at the moment.
You don't really understand your community or know your community if you don't know yourself.
It's a matter of us being culturally immersed and really getting a chance to know each other.
Hi, brother.
Blackness, this is who I am. I embrace it, I love it, I celebrate it every day.
Not that many MAFA people have survived.
Trying to figure out life and working and balance and showing up for other people.
It's veggies!
I told you the Cameroon, the MAFA people, farmers, cultivators.
L'chaim, cheers.
Is this the restorative part?
You know, unless somebody tells a story, it'll never be told.
Sword fight.